guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with something that is really exciting because we've got ourselves a brand new release from the Wonders of the Wild series. As you know, I am a massive fan of this series from Star Ace. I think it has been phenomenal all the way through, and they are now kind of expanding what they are releasing as we've got a skull fossil replica of a Smilodon. How awesome is that? This will definitely be the very first Smilodon skull that I've ever had the pleasure of adding to my collection, and I am really excited to see what this looks like when we pop it out of the box. You can see the box art is basically just like kind of like giving that cardboard look, like almost an old school look, but at the same time it almost kind of reminds me of like something that you would use to transport a fossil replica of some kind, like almost looking like an old school kind of crate or something with the overall appearance. So I really kind of like that about the box. I think that's definitely neat. You can see we've got a nice shot of the skull on the other side. Again, when you take a look at the back, it does say Smilodon skull fossil polyresin statue, and then basically again another shot of the skull on the other side. So I'm going to pop this open, we'll bring it in, and we'll check it out. So contained within, we have like some instructions on how you would put the skull onto the stand, which is of course always fun, always nice to have that to kind of give you an idea of what you are doing with the product. But then we also have the stand itself, and look at how cool this is. First of all, we've got a nice kind of like a rocky area, I would say. But then you have the nameplate here on the front, Smilodon Skull Fossil Wonders of the Wild. But look at how cool looking this is. Like you can basically articulate this to display it however you would want, which is really neat. Definitely different from any other stand that I can recall seeing previously. But we also have, of course, the star of the show, and look at this. That is unreal. Like, this is somehow even better in person than I was expecting. I could probably take this skull and go lay it out in the woods and have somebody walk by and they would 100% believe that this is an actual old skull that was just left there rotting and decaying, because this is so unreasonably realistic and lifelike looking. Like, honestly, just look at how good of a job they did when it comes to bringing this to life. That has got to be one of the best skull replicas that I have, just based on realism. Like, it's so lifelike. Unbelievable work, in my opinion, from Star Ace. So, without further ado, let's jump to a closer look and check this out. So again, when I bring this up, just honestly absorb this. Like, take it all in. It is so impressive. First of all, the actual quality is really impressive in its own right. It has some nice weight to it and has a very high quality feel to it when you actually have it in hand. You can also see as you move through the course of the skull, there is a whole lot of really nice fine detail. You have nice texturing throughout and tons of different cracks and everything that you'll find as you move through the course of the skull. On top of that, the amount of variation of color and expert paintwork is mind-blowing. They've done a great job of adding so much variation of color to make this just look so realistic, but also really nice dry brushing techniques, which you can see popping up in certain areas too as well. Again, help to highlight the incredible detail on this. And like I said, all sorts of cracks and kind of damage that you would expect to see on a skull like this, whether it be a fossilized skull or just generally a skull sitting out in the woods. I would definitely expect to see that kind of thing going on. You can see the teeth as well. Again, another thing that I really like is the fact that the teeth still have kind of like that, you know, coloration that you would expect to see on the teeth of a like skull you might find in the woods. And you'll see that same thing as you move into, of course, our saber teeth for our Smilodon. And they've done a really good job on top of course, the overall appearance to it, but of bringing out the detail with some very nice paintwork. They've given this, again, a nice dark wash when it comes to the teeth to kind of give them that dirty sort of a look, exactly what you would expect to see when it comes to something like this. And again, on top of, you know, doing that, it's helped to highlight the incredible detail contained within. You again have the teeth down here on the lower jaw, which also looks super nicely done. And then we continue to again have the extremely high quality look of the fine detail and paintwork moving through all of, again, the cracks and stuff throughout. And then as you continue to move up and you lead further up into the head, I feel like the paintwork somehow becomes even more impressive, which is crazy to say. But then you even move around the back, and wow, it somehow gets, no matter where I look, it just somehow continues to blow my mind more and more how good this looks overall. And we can see the area on the underside where we will, actually apply this to the stand here in just a moment. But man, this is the type of model that I can say will leave you breathless. That's pretty much what it's doing right now to me, leaving me breathless with how incredible this Smilodon skull is. And then, of course, we again have our stand, and giving you a little bit of a better look at it here in a nicer light. You can see again Smilodon skull fossil, wonders of the wild, and you can see moving through that the base itself has a nice earthy sort of a look, kind of more like a rocky look, I would say, and again some nice variation of color, as well as again some nice dry brushing as you move through, helping to enhance the overall appearance of it, making it really look like it's like a piece of stone that they've brought here and then just basically applied this area to it so that we can display our Smilodon. The underside as well, again, it states Smilodon skull fossil. It is wonders of the wild, and of course it is a collaboration between Star Ace and X Plus, and it does have the nice little circles on the underside to make sure it doesn't damage anything and helps to again increase stability. So I'm really excited to actually see this once we have the skull on it. So let's go ahead, put the skull on it, and see the final product. And there we go. It is now on the stand and looking absolutely unbelievable. When it comes to skull replicas, this is without question one of my favorite that I now have in my collection. Just everything about it is so nice. The overall presentation of it and the actual high quality of the skull. I would not be surprised to see people come into my collection room here and think that this is an actual real skull. Maybe not knowing that it's a Smilodon, because obviously we know Smilodon is extinct, but if you're not familiar with, what the skull of a Smilodon might look like, I could very easily see people believing that this is a real skull. But on top of that, as far as the size goes, and this is super stable, once you actually put it on here, it is really stable and definitely has some weight to it. You can see it kind of wrinkling up the review station a little bit as we move it around because it is so heavy. But for a length, you were looking at about 8 3/4 inches or around 22, maybe a little over 22 centimeters. If you actually go from the lower jaw, it does get a little bit longer. So then you're looking at about 9 3/4 inches or around the 25 centimeter mark roughly. And of course, it's not going to be picture perfect as I hit the camera with my arm, but because there are, bends and stuff, it's hard to get an absolutely perfect measurement. But height-wise, once it is actually on the stand, about 9 inches or 23 centimeters. So definitely a nice size for it overall. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being next to our Smilodon skull. And as you can see, it is definitely quite impressive in the size department. Obviously, it is quite a bit larger than everything else standing here next to it. The only thing that I have going on right now is I don't really know what to compare this with because I don't have any other Smilodon skulls in my collection. So I don't really have anything that I can think of off the top of my head that will compare well with this. So I'm going to do something that's a little different that I actually don't think I've ever done before. And first of all, bring in a phone. Now this would be an iPhone 12 that you are looking at right here, and you can very clearly see again, it's a bit smaller than our Smilodon skull like I would expect it to be, but if you don't have anything that I use to compare with this kind of figure or anything, so maybe this cell phone will help to at least give you somewhat of an idea, I think, of a size of this skull. And again, just continuing to use a few random things here to kind of give you an idea of a size. Here is a little bottle of Gorilla Glue that I have, showing you that again, the Smilodon skull is a whole lot larger. If you are a modeler like me, you probably use Gorilla Glue, so that might help to give you an idea of the size. I did want to bring this in, which is the brand new Beasts of the Cenozoic Smilodon, because I felt like this one would be a fun one to display with this skull. So if you do have that Smilodon, this skull replica would be a great companion piece to display with the Smilodon from the Beasts of the Cenozoic. But the final comparison I wanted to bring in here is actually the Smilodon from the Wonders of the Wild series. So we do now have an actual Smilodon model, as well as, of course, the Smilodon skull, both in the Wonders of the Wild series. And you can see that these two look unbelievable together. You talk about a shrine to the Smilodon, you need both of these, because that Smilodon from the Wonders of the Wild series is easily one of my favorites in the line overall, and also, again, this skull is definitely at the top of the list as well. Talk about an amazing visual with these two together. So this brand new Star Ace Wonders of the Wild Smilodon skull fossil is awesome. Definitely even cooler than I was expecting it to be. I was really excited when they had first announced this. Again, just generally excited for the fact that they were going to kind of branch out and include new type of products in this series, because they have given us some of the, in my opinion, best prehistoric models we've seen. But the fact that they were kind of branching out into releasing on top of more living type models, also skull replicas, was really cool. And now finally having a chance to actually see one in person, wow, I am just floored at how nice this is. Everything about it, the overall fine detail is so crisp and so realistic. And on top of that, the way that they've painted the fine detail to bring it out is just unbelievable. It looks so lifelike, so realistic. There was no skimping out when it comes to color and paint application on this one. They applied so many different variations of tones of color to bring this to life in the most realistic way possible. And then, of course, the fact that you have it on a nice stand, which actually is posable, is really cool as well. Just giving you more when it comes to display options, but also completing the overall museum-like appearance to this release. It has got to be one of my favorite releases, not just in the Wonders of the Wild series, but honestly one of my favorite releases that I have acquired the entire year. This thing is just super, super cool, and I'm so happy to be able to finally have a nice Smilodon skull in my collection. So if you are interested in grabbing this and adding it to your collection, I will include a link in the description to exactly where you can do that. So make sure you check that link. Definitely add this Smilodon skull to your collection. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.